Everyone, and welcome to the Lincoln County Courthouse. The meeting of the Lincoln County Planning Commission will begin with a few remarks. This meeting is being streamed live, and when adjourned, it will be posted and available at any time at lincolncountysd.gov. The order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff findings. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the County Planning Commission. I will then open the floor to public comment, first for persons in support of the application and then for persons opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Please limit your comments to less than 5 minutes. Lastly, on the change of zones and zoning ordinance text amendments will be scheduled for additional public hearing during upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting. The decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. All right, with that, the Planning Commission will do roll call. Please state your name for the record. Commissioner Sweeter, start.
Commissioner Sweeter here. Betty Otten here.
Jerry Jungling here.
Commissioner Boots, here.
All right, we have our quorum. The Planning Commission will now approve the meeting minutes. Mr. Brown, are there any corrections? All right, Commissioners, we've all seen the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Do you see any changes? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
Motion Boots to approve meeting minutes.
Second Sweeter.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, that passes. All right, now we'll move on to this week's meeting agenda. Before we get started, I think we will strike number 3, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, staff is requesting that you strike item 3 from the agenda for this evening. That'll be in next month's agenda.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners asked for a motion striking item number 3.
So moved Boots.
Second Sweeter.
All right, we have a motion and a second to plan the meeting agenda as written, minus number 3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, that passes. Now we can do my favorite part, public input and non-agenda items. So anyone in the crowd wants to talk about anything not on the agenda, feel free. All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor to that. And then we'll go to our first item, change of zone. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Toby Brown representing County Planning. This first item before you this evening is an application for a change of zone request. The change of zone is affecting about a 2.07 acre a portion of the parcel. But this is request is for a down zone. It's a property that approximately 2.07 acres is currently zoned I-1 light industrial. Applicant is requesting to down zone that portion of the property to A1 agricultural. Subject property is a little over 4,700 feet to the southeast of the city of T, as you can see. This is on the Harrisburg exit, just to the northeast or northeast quadrant there. As you can see, the newly adopted comprehensive plan does identify this particular property as a planned growth area, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Again, subject property is zoned I-1 light industrial. That's this little portion here that's highlighted. Currently, this entire area here that's zoned I-1 light industrial is owned by the applicant. And that property has now been reparceled twice now by the city of T. The new parcel will look something like this right here. As you can see, the property to the south is zoned A1 agricultural. Subject property is undeveloped. There is no structures currently on that portion of the property. So the applicant, staff has been working with the applicant for some time. The applicant intends to build a single-family dwelling. He did obtain a building eligibility from the property owner adjacent to the south. He purchased an acre of that property. Subsequent to that, he's worked with the city of T to replat all of that property into one parcel that'll be approximately a little over 5 acres in size, or a little under 6 acres in size. Again, a portion of that property is zoned I-1 light industrial. A little bit of impetus behind all of this is that there's floodway on the property. 9 Mile Creek does go through this property, as well as majority of it is floodway, which we can't allow any building in that particular area. But where he's proposing to construct the single-family dwelling with the eligibility that he acquired would be essentially in this area where I have the cursor at right now. There's a small window of an opportunity, I think, on that property that's going to get him out of the flood area, flood hazard area. It still will require a conditional, or will require a floodplain development permit. That will be just an administrative action through staff. But essentially, if this was a typical property, we wouldn't go through this process because we would just have him, he would be able to build in that particular property that's owned A1 agricultural. But because of the floodway, we got to push them up into this area here. As noted in the staff report, have had extensive discussions with the city of T. This is their growth area, their plating jurisdiction. As you're aware, is that the new comprehensive plan identified that we would handle rezones in this particular area with a planned development district. Both city staff and myself felt that this was more appropriate to downzone to the A1 agricultural district. It is more restrictive than if we went through a plan development process for this. So we are following the comprehensive plan, just not through the mechanism as far as the rezone, how it would go. Staff did post the property as well as the applicant did send letters within a mile of it. Haven't had any really, have had some questions along with what the application would entail, but really no objections at this point that we've identified up till this point tonight. Again, as noted in the staff report, is that staff does feel this is consistent with the city of T's growth and future planning area. A building eligibility is a by right use, so we have to make sure that that the applicant can utilize that on the property. This is the best location for that particular utilization of a building eligibility. So staff does feel this is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan and the city's comprehensive plan. So staff does recommend approval of this change of zone for a portion of the property, the 2.07 acres it's owned, I-1 light industrial. As well as if you note in the aerial that just adjacent to this property, that property is owned A1 agricultural as well, and it is developed with a single-family dwelling. Unique area out here. It's a fully developed industrial type area out there, as well as a portion of the property that we are adjacent to, that we are rezoning to this, that the applicant also owns. But again, in order to utilize the building eligibility, which is what the applicant wants to do in this case, staff feel it's appropriate to change the zone so that we can essentially get them out of a flood hazard area with it. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time. Otherwise, the applicant is in attendance. Again, this is a change of zone application, so tonight the Planning Commission is giving a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners will vote on this essentially next month as a final action on this item. But with that, if you have any questions for staff, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brown, how long you been working with the applicant on this, with different ideas and whatnot in City of T?
I think the applicant probably has a better memory than I do, but I'm guessing it's been about 4 months at least that we've been working with him on it, so. We're still not over this is the first step, is a rezone. I mean,
Right.
We'll still have to go through the building permit process and the floodplain development permit process to make sure that the building is safe from flooding, as that's our main goal. So, but that's an administrative act that will take place later, so.
All right, yeah, if it doesn't go through that process, it might come back up here go back to industrial or whatnot, yeah.
Yeah, yep, sure, so,
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Could I ask a question then, please?
Yep.
If that's in the floodplain and it remains in the I-1 light industrial, can he do anything with it then? If it's in the floodplain?
Just,
In the
yeah,
floodway?
yeah, great question. So I would say yes, in the area where we're gonna construct, where he will construct a house, there is a small portion where I think he could construct a business there in the light industrial district. But that's not his desire. His desire is to build a house in that area, so.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, with that, I will ask the applicant to come forward and talk about what we're proposing.
Good evening. Thanks for your time. My name's Kelly Cawthorn, 27277 471st Avenue, Harrisburg, 57032. I think Mr. Brown kind of told you all the story, so I don't know what else I can say. We have been at this probably a little more than 4 months. We had to purchase a little piece of land from our neighbor with the eligibility to make that all happen. It took a little while to get everything taken care of, and I don't know, we kind of decided maybe it was just a nice place to live, so, and we owned the house just to the north of that prior to, and sold that off, and we have an office out back, and so, and we just like to live there, I think, instead of doing a bunch of more commercial work. I'm getting too old to work.
I hear you. So, all right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? No, I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you've been there a while then, you know? you're-
34 years. yeah.
All right, so you're familiar with the drainage and the water and all that?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're-
yeah, yeah. Yep.
All right, you're not walking into it new, so.
No, I didn't just buy it yesterday, so.
Right.
Yeah. No, we're pretty well settled into it, and we've had some bad floods, I guess, and I know that there's some plans to take out 2 of the bridges to the south and east of us. One on the highway there, then the one that's right adjacent to our property. And by developing those out, making them flow more water, you know, I think that's gonna help a lot. That's been our hangup now for the last several years. So, yeah, and I think the redirect of some of T's waterways has helped a lot too. You know, it's not a constant flood you know,
Right.
but yeah, no, I think there's some good plans ahead, so.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any more questions?
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll ask for anybody in support of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve Boots.
Second, Sweeter?
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion, commissioners?
I guess, you know, like Kelly said, he's been down there a while. He knows the flow and what's going on, so he's not coming this blindly to build a house out in the country and with that small of an area to do it. And there is some other houses down around in there, so I think it would work.
All right, commissioners?
Well, I think he still has some work to go, you know, some things to do yet before he's ready to go. But if this is the first step that he needs to do, I agree that this is what he needs to do first. So I would be in support of changing that so he can move forward.
All right, and I feel the same. I mean, you've been there, so there's commercial on one side, industrial on the other side, and residential kind of all mixed up, so you've been there, you know what you're getting into, so.
We're kind of the buffer, I guess. They've been calling us that for 30 years.
All right, with that, I'll do roll call. Commissioner Sweeter?
Yes.
Commissioner Otten?
Yes.
Commissioner Boots?
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Congratulations. I look forward to seeing it.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Brown, item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This next item is a conditional use permit for an oversized accessory building. What that was. So this particular property is a little over 600 feet to the northwest of the city of T, or essentially the west of the city of T. Subject property is zoned A1 agricultural. As you can see, this particular property there's quite a bit of what I'll call piecemeal subdivision development over the years. A number of these, as you can see to the east and to the south, were developed prior to density zoning. So there's a number of neighborhoods that grew up there, and then the property adjacent to the north is rural residential. That would have been kind of a fill-in development after the density zoning was passed. Particular property is developed with a single-family dwelling that the applicant lives in. As you can see, those are some shots looking at it. So the applicant is proposing to build a 4,000 square foot accessory building, essentially as shown on the drawing, be to the back of the house, or say to the west of the house. So as depicted, that particular building would meet all site development standards, the minimum site development standards. As noted in the staff report, there is quite a number of existing accessory buildings out in this area. One being the largest would be about 6,000 square feet, a little over 6,000 square feet. That'd be a little over 800 feet to the southwest of this particular property. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of, oversized accessory buildings. And again, just for the benefit, is the zoning ordinance requires that any accessory building over 1,500 square feet that's in a subdivision of more than 4 lots does require a conditional use permit process to go through. So as part of this, staff did receive an application, did have some discussions with the applicant, identified again that this is within a development that has had a history of having accessory buildings, and this won't be the largest within this development by any means. But as proposed, the applicant is proposing to utilize this building for essentially just personal storage and use. So again, no businesses can be ran out of this particular structure. It's only for personal storage on that. So the applicant did send letters of notification to all adjacent properties. Staff did post the property. As of this time, staff received really no comments or questions regarding this particular application. Staff does feel that this application and project would be consistent with other types of accessory buildings within the area. Do feel that if approved with the conditions that staff recommends in the staff report, that there really shouldn't be negative impacts on surrounding property owners within this development. So with that, again, staff does recommend approval of this application for a 4,000 square foot accessory building with the 5 conditions that were placed in the staff report. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff?
I guess I just got one, and on the driveway, that'll just get added in.
Yes.
The way that's penciled in, I noticed, looks like by the aerial shot, there's the way they've kind of worked the other ones around it where they've added in a driveway without any issues, I am guessing, since it's been done that way.
Yep. And that'll go through their process. The county doesn't have any jurisdiction over that driveway there. We will require, though, great question, though, we will require that we receive some notification that the applicant does have that approved prior to us issuing a building permit, though, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, is that, I can ask the applicant, but I'm sure that's part of a road district or something like that.
There.
Mr. Brown, the city of T, do we talk to them at all about this, or is not really?
So we did, when these applications, we did send a copy of the notice to the city. Had a minor conversation with city staff, but they didn't really have any concerns with this particular application, so.
Okay. Commissioners, any additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and speak about their project.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ross Dilstra, 46796 DeCare Court in T. I've been living there since 2007, and I guess I've always kind of just wanted to put a shop up, and at this point in time in life, I'm able to do that. And it's just for personal storage for cars and boats, camper, That driveway that was in there, there is a driveway there where I drew it in, and there's a culvert there underneath the road and everything, so that's always been there since I bought it. So there's no problem with the driveway getting approved already, because there's already one there, but, yeah, other than that, it's just for personal use, I guess. That's it.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
At this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Motion to approve Boots.
Second, Otten.
All right, thank you. Motion and second. Is there any discussion? No? All right. Yeah, I'll just say I used to live in that area in Valerie Place, built a number of those houses, so familiar with sheds and shops out there. I like sheds. So, all right, let's do a roll call. Commissioner Sweeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Commissioner Boots.
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Congratulations. All right, with that, we are skipping item number 3, moving that to next month, and we're up for item number 4.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this item is a conditional use permit. This is for an oversized warehouse building. So the applicant is proposing to construct a 10,800 square foot building to be utilized for storage, essentially leasing for storage on the property. So as you can see, the subject property is just a little bit to the east, or to the west of the city of Harrisburg, a little over 5,000 feet. This is, though, within the city of Harrisburg's growth area / planning authority. Subject property is Zone C commercial, as is all surrounding adjacent properties. Subject property is undeveloped. If you recall, the planning commission did issue a conditional use permit for this property for outdoor storage. And so that's been being utilized on the property up until this point. Staff has reviewed has reviewed that permit and doesn't have any concerns with what's going on there. But with this application, would be converting it to a building on the property instead, so it'll be indoor warehousing essentially. So the applicant did submit an application again for a 10,800 square foot building. And again, is that the zoning ordinance requires any warehousing over 10,000 square feet. Zone C commercial does require a conditional use permit. And so staff did review this application, did have some discussions with the applicant. Staff really identified that this is a developed, almost fully developed, light industrial commercial park that's been in existence for a while. Consistent land uses around there are this type of land use. As far as warehousing, storage, there is some other types of activities occurring in that development, but it is what I would say is almost a fully developed commercial industrial park. Applicant is proposing this 10,800 square foot building to be utilized for storage, 12 units, 20 by 45. All the units would have both heating and electrical. Essentially be indoor storage only. Applicant is not intending to have any outdoor storage after the building. And then I think he's also looking at putting up a second building, which would be part of this too, but that's further down the road with that part of it. So again, as far as analysis, this is a commercial industrial park. Staff does feel that this application is consistent with the activities that are going on within that area. Do also feel that with this additional building on there, dress it up a little bit as far as having some indoor storage within that area. So we did post the property. The applicant did send notification to surrounding property owners. Did receive a call from the developer of the development, had some questions about essentially what the application was for. And then he as well has additional concerns with drainage within that area. So it, assured him that this is the first step on that we'll still need a building permit and go through that process to ensure that there is no impacts with that occurring in the development. And as usual, encouraged the developer to visit with the applicant as well to share any concerns or any questions that there might be with it. So with that, staff does feel that this application and project is consistent with the area and with the regulations. So staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit, which would allow a 10,800 square foot warehouse building. Do recommend the 8 conditions that were placed in the staff report, though, to go along with that approval. With the conditions of approval, staff does feel that this will address any or mitigate any potential negative impacts with this proposed building. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and gladly answer any questions that you or the board might have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Nope. I went for you, Mr. Brown. Will you correct me if, do we usually, if there's outdoor storage, we ask for a fenced-in area? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I don't remember seeing that in these conditions, since this is indoor and outdoor.
So number 2, that there should be no unsecured outdoor storage. Staff interprets that's our consistent one with we require fencing.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right. Commissioner, you guys good?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their proposal.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Matt Birch. The address to the property is 27313 Law Valley Place, Harrisburg. Is that all I needed for that?
I'm sorry, what was that,
Yeah,
Matt?
just my name and address.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good right there. Yep.
Yeah, so we, I think it was last fall, we got a conditional use permit approved to do outside storage, RV storage with a fenced-in yard. Started that process last fall, got a lot of excavating done, dirt work, and then kind of came to a halt with the winter. And over the winter, it came into adjusting the conditional use to do a 10,800 square foot building on that south property line on that lot. So it says no outside storage, but I think in the plan I submitted that it was going to be that 10,800 square foot building on the south property line, and then it was about 20 parking spots for outside storage with a full slatted fence around it with a gate operation. And so, yeah, I don't know if that was said, but that is in the plans to put a fence up around the whole property and secure it and make it
Okay.
clean, so, yeah.
All right, commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, Matt. All right, at this time, we'll ask for anybody in favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I would make a motion to approve with the 8 conditions attached.
Second, Otten.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, commissioners?
No, the only thing I had was the outdoor storage, but as Toby explained, the unsecured outdoor storage takes care of that. And since it was drawn out with some outdoor parking spots, so I'll vote in favor of.
Yeah, and I agree. I think adding a building out there will clean up the area and put stuff outside, inside is always nice, so. All right, commissioners, everyone good? With that, I will take roll call. We have motion and second with the 8 conditions listed. Commissioner Sweeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungley is also a yes. Congratulations. All right, with that, we're moving right along to item number 5. Mr. Brown?
Okay, these next two items are actually the same property. We'll go through them each individually. This first is an application for motor vehicle repair on the subject property. Again, requires a conditional use permit. If I can get the exhibits going here, hold on one second. And it froze there. Let's see. I gotta pull this one up. Okay, get through that part there. Okay, pardon me there. So this is an application, the approximate location of this is a little over 300 feet to the west of the City of T corporate limits. Again, the City of T goes up on both sides of this particular property. This property is zoned I-1 light industrial. Property size is a little over 1.3 acres in size. As you can see, all surrounding properties are zoned I-1 light industrial as well. So this property is developed. It does have an existing building on there that does have multiple units within it. This will be familiar to some of you because this was on last month's agenda as well for this particular property. And so this is a shot looking, essentially the one looking to the south would be looking directly onto that property there. So as you recall, we did have an application last month for this particular property as well. Was denied, concern over what was going on in the property there. So in between then and now, staff was able to reach out to the landowner, and then also the landowner's representative does have a property manager who's also a relation to the landowner as well. So staff was able to meet with the property manager and really go through the concerns that were voiced at the previous month's planning commission. And so out of that discussion, really kind of came out that the concern was the parking, the outside parking, and the a lot of the vehicles that were there and things like that. And as you know, and I think the board members asked a lot of questions last month of this application as well, is that, it's difficult for staff sometimes to enforce some of these things if we don't know whose vehicles there are in these multiple tenant things, or these multiple tenant buildings. And so really, I think it was a good discussion that staff had with the property manager. And really, the result came out of that was that the property manager and the owner are going to number the parking spaces within that particular property. That'll ensure that the people who are utilizing the particular units are parking in the appropriate locations. Allow staff to have better, discussions if we need to have discussions, as well as, I think in the narrative portion of the application, the property representative said that, if there's any concerns, we'll tow them if they're parking outside of the parking spaces and things like that. So I think this is really was a good thing that resulted out of last month. I think it allowed staff to really have some discussions with the landowner's representative, as well as to, I think, come up with a unique situation that we typically don't do, but I think you're going to see us start requiring this because it does allow us to better to enforce and deal with some of the concerns that might be out in these areas. And so there is some, what I'll call some screen storage in the back of the building as well too. And so I know everybody will look at the aerial photos and identify some things that are in there. But I would share with you that when you drive by that particular property, you can't really see above that. And so again, staff, we can't enforce anything off of an aerial photo. We really have to what we can see from the right of way. And so I think that staff doesn't have any concerns with this, what's occurring with storage in those particular spots. We do feel that does give those tenants a little bit more ability to kind of store some things back there so they can keep it out of the front spaces there. But Staff, I really think the property manager has been really cooperative. I think has given, as, it was kind of a agreement that staff and the property manager had about the paving and things like that. Or not the paving, but essentially the marking of those spots. I think it's gonna give staff a little bit easier, again, chance to enforce on this application. But in discussions with the property manager, I don't think we're gonna have issues with enforcement after this, because I think that he's gonna take that upon himself too, to make sure that we address some of those concerns there. So essentially, what's unique about this particular application is that, what we're essentially asking the board is to approve on the subject property, the ability with this conditional use permit to have motor vehicle repair. So instead of dealing with the tenants and having them come in and we have multiple, different conditional use permits on the property, we think this is a better use of the resources that allow us to just, blanket that particular property and utilize that particular property for those land uses. The other issue that I think we have periodically is that, we would allow one tenant to have it in the development, and then, the landlord or the owner would have rented it to someone else, but they didn't have the appropriate paperwork or the permit to have it. This just allows us to get ahead of that and to make sure that we're treating all the units the same. And really what we have concerns about is what's occurring outside of the units as opposed to what's occurring within the units, as long as that conditional use is allowed. So with that, staff did post the property. The applicant did send notice to surrounding property owners. As of this meeting, staff has received really no comments or concerns or questions regarding this. Did have discussions with staff from the city of T. They felt this was a good approach to deal with this as well too, to make sure that we're consistent with how we're treating these different types of applications. And again, I would say that staff would recommend that we do this consistently with all these moving forward, is that we do the same approach. Allows us a little bit better, again, enforcement, but allows us to work with these landowners instead of the individual tenants within those units. And again, ultimately, whenever we have these types of issues, we're dealing with the landowner anyways. We're not dealing with the tenant because they're responsible for what's going on there. But then a lot of times, I don't think the landowners or their agents really knew what was going on there either. So I think this is a good compromise for what that's going to be. So for this use 0015-2025, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit to allow motor vehicle repair on the property with the 8 conditions that were placed in the staff report. Again, we feel that these 8 conditions are going to allow everyone to move forward with that type of land use within that particular property, and allow staff, again, to have some enforcement capability that probably didn't have before. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair, and answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you for your time working on this too. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
I do. On number 4, does that mean that whatever's waiting to be repaired must be inside the building?
Correct. And that's a typical condition that we put on motor vehicle repair. It's difficult to enforce, but this one shouldn't be because we're going to know who's the violators when we go out there and investigate it, so.
All right,
Thank
Commissioners?
you.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay, thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and tell us about your plan.
Hello, I'm Anthony Kerwald, address 1400 East 61st Street, Sioux Falls, 57108. I'm the property manager for this property. As stated, the current property is owned by S&O Building Corporation, and that is, the manager of that property is currently my father-in-law. So I deal with him on a regular basis, every day, honestly. So I am working to try to, after I heard about the non-approval for last month with the conditional use permit by one of our tenants, I worked with the office here and said, hey, I know we've got some issues. Here's my plan moving forward. So I already have my quote. I've got my money down. I'm going to get the parking lot restriped and all numbered. I am just waiting to make sure that that'll help solve everything. If there's anything else I need to do, I've got my parking lot guy on standby, kind of waiting to hear back before I give them the final, okay for that. I do know that parking has been a concern in the past at that area, and we have constantly been dealing with tenants and telling them to move vehicles and get them out of each other's parking spot and to share the parking spot. I think those help resolve that issue a lot for us anyways, just the whole parking lot, numbering of it for it, so. Yeah, and so I'm hoping to move forward and have this approved for automotive repair for our tenant in there, so.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any question for the applicant?
Not really a question, but thanks for kind of doing this. It makes things a lot more cleaner. I know that was some of our thoughts, and
Yeah.
that was one of mine, driving out there and see how many cars were there. And with the dealership, you know, we've got some out in the county that you drive by and boy, they say they're an auto dealer, but it don't look like it to me. And this would kind of clean that up and
Yeah.
make it look nice. So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to work with the office, Toby and his staff, is just to get suggestions on stuff like that, where, yes, I will admit in the past where the owner has gotten, not on this property, but on a different property, he got the, information from the zoning office, and, a lot of times it's been passed down to, hey, tenant, take care of this issue, or you're in violation, and it's your issue, not our issue. I'm on the fact of, it is my issue. That's my job to manage it and to keep it all looking nice, so we don't ever get a letter from the county, and that's my goal. I don't want the county to come out and investigate us and say, hey, you're in violation. No one wants to be the bad student. Everyone wants to be the, hey, I've got everything good, I look good, everything's great. And if we can be an example to help other parts of the county, I'm happy with that too, so.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, you guys,
You know, I was here last month too, and I'm glad that you worked with Toby and his office and the surrounding companies, and came back doing it this way and doing it right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With that, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Motion by Boots to approve.
I'll second with the 8 conditions.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, discussion? All right, only comment I have is still not a fan of repair shops and this type of business in these areas, but you've done everything, meet all conditions, and I do still want to see successful businesses and rezoning the whole building. I think I really like that idea, or what permit for the entire building, so I really like that. So with that, we'll ask for a roll call. Commissioner Sweeter.
Yes.
Commissioner Otten.
Yes.
Commissioner Boots.
Yes.
Commissioner Jungley is also a yes. Thanks for your work. Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay, this next item is conditional use number 0016-2025, same property. And again, it's a little about 600 feet to the west of the city of T as far as the location. Property is zoned I-1 light industrial. Again, as I should have said on the previous one, is that the I-1 light industrial district allows any conditional use that is within a commercial zoning district to also be applied for. That's how we're going through this is a typical motor vehicle repair and motor vehicle sales, which is this item, are typical commercial type uses, but they're allowed within the I-1 light industrial district. This particular item, though, as far as the application is for motor vehicle sales, again, the previous one was for motor vehicle repair. Motor vehicle sales is occurring on this property currently. One of the units did receive a conditional use permit for that. And as the board's noted, that motor vehicle sales is kind of a common occurrence within this particular industrial area. So it's something that that it shouldn't be an impact to the surrounding properties or the development of the surrounding properties. And again, I would say, that I think how staff was able to come back with this within a month with that, I think is pretty good. But I think it's better that this is really kind of a boilerplate of how we want to treat these moving forward. And it's going to, instead of getting $250 for each unit in there, we're stuck with the one time. But I think it's going to allow the landowner, the landowner's representative to know what's allowed within that development or within that building. And so it just allows more consistency with how they're renting the units, but also how they're enforcing it. And it was good to hear the landowner's rep talk about that he's going to make sure that enforces it so that we don't have to enforce it, which is, again, nobody wants to enforce the bad stuff. We want to make sure that stuff doesn't occur. And I truly believe, and this particular landowner does own a number of buildings out in that development. And so we're going to make sure that you follow the rules, and that's just a good way to make sure that we don't have any issues with what's going on out there. So again, staff did post the property. The applicant did send letter notification. As of this time, staff has really received no questions or comments regarding this particular application. Staff is recommending approval of this application with the 9 conditions that were listed in the staff report. Number one, those of importance, is that conditional use permit 0016-2020, or use 0004-2021 was the previous conditional use permit for motor vehicle sales. What we're asking for is, with approval of this, it will nullify or void that particular conditional use permit. And that way we'll utilize this particular conditional use permit to enforce all of those things. That particular conditional use permit is missing nothing that's within this one. I would say this one has more stringent restrictions or regulations or conditions than that previous one did, so there's really no harm in negating that particular one that's there. Again, staff does recommend approval of motor vehicle sales on this particular property, so with this approval, motor vehicle sales will be allowed in any of the units that are existing on that property. And again, as of now, there's only one, with the potential for the second one to be located within that particular building or with that. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you. Glad to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. This time I'll ask the applicant come forward and talk about their application.
Anthony Kerwald, 1400 East 61st Street, Sioux Falls, 57108. We're asking for the conditional use permit for the use of sales. Yes, we've got the parking lot going to be striped, everyone color coded to know the number of spots everyone has and does not have, and I'm the enforcement on that. The other thing I will say is I'm going through all of these, not just this building, but we have a couple other buildings in the area, we have one building within the city of T, and I've had to call them, and I'm learning and growing, and, part of what we are asking for is, yes, this will be for our second auto sales on that location, and that will probably max that location out, quite honestly. It's one of the things I'm learning is you have to, making sure we have the proper parking for our contractor shops, and then also for the sales. And after a while, you only have so much parking, you can't add more. So I'm like, all right, it's finding that right mix of the right tenants. And I think like our one tenant here, that's, one that already does the auto sales, does a really good job of trying to keep his vehicles up front, out on, close to the road. And I know that the second one, if approved, is going to do the same thing. He honestly is more on the automotive repair and just occasionally takes in a vehicle where he's like, I can fix this up and flip this and make myself a little bit of money without having, but he wants to go through the proper steps for it all. So, and I'm more than willing to help him because he's been a great tenant, and it's just, part of it is just finding the right tenants for these areas and making sure we don't make them look bad. So, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, any question for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application, please come forward. I will close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Motion by Boots to approve.
Second, Otten, with the conditions, the 9 conditions.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Commissioners, any discussion?
Not really, I guess I said it all in the first go-around, because it was blanketed, I knew it was both of them, so again, I just like the way this is moving forward, and I think, as Toby said, it'll make a nice template to make life a little bit simpler for the building owner, the person who's gonna rent it, and future planning commissions and the commissioners, so.
All right, and I agree. With that, we will do roll call. Commissioner Sweeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungley is also a yes. Congratulations again. All right, with that, we will move on to old business. Mr. Brown? None? All right, you have something for us for new business?
Two items. First, I thought it'd take a little bit longer tonight, so we were very, expedient. That's very good, so. First thing is that tomorrow, at the 8:30 meeting of the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Commissioners will be doing the second reading and public hearing for the carbon oxide ordinance. And so, if there's any questions or any of those things, please show up and, and be a part of that process. Second thing is that intend to do the bylaws update. I guess one thing that I ran into though is that we actually have bylaws with the joint planning commission with the city of Sioux Falls as well as ours. So I do need to work with legal a little bit to make sure that we coincide both of those so they're together. But what I would like to offer up though is it'd be nice to maybe have a subgroup of the planning commission so that we could meet with them outside of the meeting. And kind of go through some areas that we would want to take a look at and things like that. So the only thing is we wouldn't want to have a quorum with that, but I'll let you just contact the chair if you want to be a part of that group. So the chair would, of course, be a part of that group. But looking for an additional 2 other members to be a part of that. And probably just meet a couple times and just with staff to just go through the different changes. I got to bring Sioux Falls staff in on it though too, so that we can make sure that we're consistent with both boards essentially with it. So that's kind of where we're at with that. One other thing is that I'll email you both of those copies out so that you'll have a chance to take a look at those and see where we're at. But 2 parts that I think we're really taking a look at there is how we want to roll through the meeting process. And then also, and I think, it doesn't require us to really change the bylaws, but I know that everyone's talked about that we really want to have the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning, so we'll start doing that next month. It's not on the Board of Commissioners agenda, they just do it as part of the meeting, so we'll start that next month with that, so. But essentially, a lot of the different things with the, that we want to look at would be the chair representative, the commission representative. I thank Commissioner Otten for voting tonight because we had a tight quorum, but we want to get to the point too where we allow some of those items that are going to go up to the next level to really just kind of allow her to just listen so that she can better convey what happened at the meeting as opposed to being a part of the meeting with it. I think that's an important role for what that liaison really is with the Board of Commissioners, especially tomorrow. She's going to do most of the talking other than, probably more than me, hopefully, so that we can make sure that she conveys what the Planning Commission's gone through over the last 2.5 years with that particular ordinance, so, okay? With that, Mr. Chair, that's all I really had, unless there's any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Were you looking at putting that subcommittee together tonight, or were you finalize it next week or next month?
I would just say just have them probably contact you if they're interested in it.
Okay.
And then we hopefully would meet prior to next month's meeting, so to kind of walk through some of those things, so.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair.
but it's really just a voluntary subgroup that we're just meeting to take a look at it, to see if what other issues that are there, so. Okay,
Gotcha.
all right. Thank you.
Can I make a comment? I want to thank everyone here, and Toby in your office and your staff, along with the attorneys that worked on this, and every one of you guys on this 2.5 years of getting this CO2 pipeline put together. I think last month was absolutely incredible what you guys did. So adding to what you did last month, I think made it probably the best ordinance in the state of South Dakota. So I wanted to thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, if there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Boots.
Second, Sweeter?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. Good meeting, everybody.